I remember specifically playing with random objects. I remember right, it was a piece of thread, a butter top, a bean seed, and a twig. I was trying to rearrange them even before I knew the word design, but I just wanted to make something meaningful. This is before I even knew the definition that this is art. I was in boarding school, parents' visitation day, so they were asking that who could be in charge of decorating the main hall. For some reason, my name came up. In the beginning, I was just dumping a lot of work on me, but
there's so many different environments that you can play in. Did you ever feel at any point you found your place in this new environment and this is where you're going to explore?
One has to be stubborn. You have to know that this is my calling. I'm not going to give up whatever the cost.
How long did it take you before you even started to be profitable?
It took a whole 10 years. And this is the thing.
Welcome to the Godson Pratt podcast. Again, as you guys know, on the Godson Pratt podcast, we always try to bring guests with incredible backgrounds and stories that can, inspire and motivate you to be great. And today we have a very special guest. We are lucky on the Godson Pratt podcast to sit down today with the visionary designer, founder of Kayiwa Studio, and creative philosopher whose work challenges us to see design not as decoration but as dialogue. His works, from sculptural furniture to collectible art pieces, are as bold as they are deliberate. Each curve, each surface holds a quiet conversation between African vibrancy and Scandinavian calm. The New York Times called his pieces "memories turned into furniture," a line that captures the emotional blueprint behind his creations. But Sir Lincoln's story isn't only about design, it's about identity, discipline, daring to redefine what African creativity looks like on the world stage. From Kampala, Uganda to Helsinki, Finland, he has not just built a studio, but a bridge between cultures, between eras, and between imagination and impact. Sir Lincoln Kayiwa, as I call him, is a man who turned memory into art and art into legacy. You're welcome to the Godson Pratt podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I've been pretty excited about finally meeting.
Right.
Because over demanding schedules, we've had to,
reschedule a few times.
A couple of times. But I'm happy that we finally got to do this, and
Yeah, and it's my honor and pleasure to also be in front of greatness and also getting the opportunity to share your story with our audience. And it's quite interesting that the first time that I heard about you, then I heard about you from a mutual friend whom I respect a lot, and it seemed like he respected you even more. So then I was like, okay, I haven't never heard about you, and then the conversation came up about how there is so many great brothers doing incredible things in Finland, but sometimes it feels like there is not so much light being shed upon, some of the stories. So if you don't end up in a community or a circle where you hear about them from other people, then you just don't hear about them. So then I start to kind of like research you a little bit, kind of like Googling and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is, pretty interesting, and this is a story worth telling on the Godson Pratt podcast. So, we are happy to, dig a little bit into your background today as well.
Thank you.
So I have a few questions here. Again, like what I've learned from doing this podcast is like sometimes it's like a masterclass for myself because I'm also like an up and coming like entrepreneur. So I need more knowledge and information. And sometimes it feels like the best way to get it is to talk to people who have walked, those journeys before. So today, the first question that I have here, obviously, is what was your earliest memory of creativity or making something with your hands?
Well, this goes really way back. I should have been maybe 7 or 8.
Okay.
I remember specifically playing with random objects.
Yeah.
If I remember right, it was a piece of thread,
Okay.
a butter top, a bean seed, and a twig. And I was trying to rearrange them in a way that I could get them to do something functional.
Okay.
Random objects, totally,
Right.
As a child,
Yeah.
I was so frustrated that I couldn't get them to, build something that would, be either functional or in a way that it would like solve um, like a problem or be like a design object even before I knew the word design, but I just wanted to make something meaningful.
Right.
Probably they would have worked as a walkabout, but it wasn't enough. For me, it was more that there had to be this aspects that they were functional.
Right.
And that is one of the earliest memories. The other was that from a very early age, I was really um, um, asked by my big sister to draw more and paint more.
Yeah.
And I was like wondering why. I mean, it's like for me it came naturally, but I obviously probably she saw something and it's like, yeah, I think you should really like draw more. And then further on a little bit down the line, when it struck me that okay, maybe there might be something artistic, and this is before like I even knew the definition that this is art. I mean,
Right.
it was
Right.
in Uganda, growing up in Uganda, it's just more like drawing, and
Right.
it wasn't like highlighted as a career path or
Exactly.
as it's more
Exactly.
like okay, you're good at drawing, that's it. And but I was in boarding school, so we had these parents visitation days.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had the same in Ghana.
Pretty much. Yeah.
So and then they randomly they were asking that who could be in charge of decorating the main hall where the parents are gonna convene.
Right. Right.
And for some reason my name came up. I was like,
Okay.
what do you mean? Like I should be in charge of that? I thought in the beginning that it was more like I was just someone's just dumping a lot of work on me. But actually it just turned out that okay, they thought that I was more like the visual creative that would be like should be in charge of the decoration and stuff.
Okay.
So and clarity was established even when I grew older. But yeah, so that was
Okay. So
to answer your question.
right. So as early as already 7, and then in my mind, I'm thinking like in high school you're already like 14 years old or something. So as early as that, you were already showing signs of being this creative design guy that you are today. And like you said, when you were 7, you tried to kind of like do something functional with the bees, and then you were frustrated that it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I would ask, like, when did you first realize that for example, like when it comes to design, it could be like more than just function, but also it could tell a story? Because pretty much
it's kind of funny that I had to suppress this journey or destination because my father was an architect by profession.
Okay.
And he preferred that we're either architects or then at least engineers. Those are considered the most prestigious professions. And I did hate maths. I still do to some extent. So it's safe to say that actually, if my father was still alive, I wouldn't have been a designer.
Right.
Because he was very much pushing
For architecture.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And of course, design has maths elements. For example, I have to be aware of the dimensions, scale, size, and everything. But it wasn't really. I wasn't really feeling it. And, and so I had to. I rediscovered it later when he passed on. I was about 12 when he did, and then then I came back to changing my trajectory. So of course, I was trying to honor his wish when I was still alive, but when he passed on, then I was like, okay, it was easier to convince my mother that I'm really feeling more, towards and but when you're in the environment or when you're in the box or in the situation, it's actually it's so generic to you. It's so oblivious to you as to because you're living it.
Exactly.
So it was only actually until the New York Times interview that it just clicked. Like I was like, oh my God, like I've been designing my memories, things that because when I left the box of Uganda to Finland, then I kind of like um, passively was actually carrying on the memories and
Right.
placing them into
Right.
my design because when if I were in Uganda, maybe it would have been too obvious, but having been here, then it was maybe somewhat easier for someone to identify.
Exactly.
And for example, the bookshelf,
Yeah.
it's based on the alphabet rhyme.
Okay. Okay.
The Nasari alphabet rhyme, the Ugandan version,
Okay. Okay.
which goes, I'm sure you can have a little pop-up image about the shelf
Yeah. Yeah.
for your audience. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
Right. Right.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So wherever there's a break, that's where the letters end.
Right.
Because when people ask that, how come it sounds so continuous? But because it's how the rhyme goes.
Exactly.
And I do have for example, a bench called Yoki,
Okay.
which is of course river for
Finland.
Finland.
Right. Right.
But my high school was along the River Nile. So the meandering, water and everything. So obviously I had to design a bench which meanders like a river.
Right,
so
right.
and all these things just I mean, of course it was there, but somebody had to actually open my eyes to it. And
Right,
that
right,
was
right,
really
right,
like
Right.
interesting.
Right. So I was going to ask you a question about if your family initially support your creativity, but I think to some extent you already answered that with your dad, which also leads me to my next question because I went to high school pretty much in Ghana, and when I was going to high school, so normally you have to choose the subjects that you wanted to study, and at the time, because like most of my so to speak respected uncles were all politicians.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like if
you to follow some
right? And then somehow my grades were not the best, so I didn't get into any of the high level courses, so to speak. And at that time, science and mathematics, those were like the big boy courses. So when you are like in the lower spectrum of intelligence, you go to visual arts. So when you did visual art, I did visual art for 3.5 years, right? So when you did visual art, that's not something you even tell people. When people ask you like, what do? You say like you do anything else other than art.
Pretty much.
And
the same situation in Uganda.
Exactly. So how did you, like decide, or how did you even build the confidence or the courage to go that path? Because
well, that's interesting. But I must say that growing up now, of course, that's the opinion
Right.
in Uganda that the arts require lower intelligence.
Yeah,
Actually, contrary to, for example, if you look at Finland, they have such a wide cultural, artistic programs, which are also supported by the government.
Right.
If you go to any hospital, you'll find art there. If you go to even prisons,
Right.
even kids from kindergarten through to you find some form of art that is being practiced upon. But yes, I did face the same, and I remember some of my relatives asking that, are you just going to draw stickmen, because when you're starting to draw, everybody knows you draw them like dolls, like just a circle,
Yeah.
the legs and that. So and I was like, no, but on the other hand, people in Africa, at least I've discovered, I've been to a couple of countries, we like very aesthetic things.
Yes.
Like the trendiest, most fashionable phone or car, or So already we aesthetically we gravitate towards aesthetics, but we can't really tell there's a blur between art, design, and also these aesthetics things that we want within that separate entities.
Right.
But actually they're the same. That the way you wear your hair, that's art, that's
Yeah,
design. The way you what clothes you select to put, or the fabric or the motifs, especially for the African patterns.
Right.
That's all,
right.
like
Exactly.
but so it was a bit frustrating that it was in my head. I didn't have enough uh, definitions or interpretations. I couldn't vocalize what was in my mind, my
Yeah,
vision, my
right.
that no, it doesn't end at just drawing statement. Actually, it's a start, but it progresses into this visual identity and aspirations and style and voices. So that for example, when I design something like this,
Yeah.
it's more like um, um, it's it's because it's not a generic design that you can see and find anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's I wanted to have this specific, just like any artist. You can tell a Picasso, you can tell a Rembrandt. You
Yeah,
can,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
I wanted to. I couldn't vocalize that
Right,
at
right,
that
right,
time when I was young,
right,
but
right.
I stayed stubborn and at least got my mother to put me to a college which was focused on the creative arts.
Okay, okay.
So already, at least that was my biggest victory. And funny enough that it comes up that we tease each other about it. Like, you're really stubborn about going to that school. But I'm really glad that, you stuck to your guns. Because as if a guardian or parent decides, especially
final. Yeah,
in
yeah,
Uganda,
yeah,
that's it. End of
Right,
story,
right,
no
right.
compromise.
Yeah,
But I was really like, actually, I threatened my mom that I'm not going to school. I'm going to drop out if I don't go to this college. But luckily, she, I think with that, she really knew that I really wanted this. And yeah. So.
But I think that in itself is already like a trait with most successful entrepreneurs or like people who have done like innovative things, because already at that age, coming from African background, barely many of us can even say no to our parents, talk less of even threatening them that either this or nothing. Like I said, amongst my friends, I was really embarrassed and irritated to do visual art at the time. So I didn't even want to go to school. But I couldn't even mention it to my uncle. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go do this for him, and after that, I will do something for me, right? So literally, since I finished like visual arts from high school, I have barely done anything like artistics. But of course, like now, even in my own life, it shows up now and then that I'm a little bit different from the average person. I wanted to ask you this question a little bit later on in the conversation, but since you mentioned it earlier on, I think maybe I would ask you now if the memory is still fresh. So you mentioned the New York Times article, right? When I was researching you for the purpose of the interview, that was one of the things that shocked me, because I'm thinking like, we live in Finland. How does the New York Times know about somebody like you? So how did that come about? And if you can just explain a little bit, because
basically, my company, although I'm based in Finland, it's the US is the biggest market.
Right.
And I have licenses in New York and LA. And I usually work. I have a team of employees as well.
Okay.
2 employees and an intern, and but I usually do so that or we work also according to the US timeline.
Okay.
So I've actually gotten more press from outside Finland than in Finland.
Right.
There's been some good Finnish press, but just to put into perspective. So
For sure.
I guess it wasn't. It was by no surprise that I could end up, for example, in the New York Times.
100%.
Which is I'm not really. It's one of those things that you need to pinch yourself when you get an interview request.
Exactly.
You actually think it's a hoax. You're like, whatever.
Yeah.
But then when it turns out to be true, then you're like, and actually when it only hit me the magnitude of the situation after the interview.
Right.
Like when it was done and published, it's like, what? I was in the New York Times,
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I guess it's a combination of things. One, I can't really buy press, but one also needs press. It's something that in my opinion, that if you don't go looking for press, if you just stick to your craft, your vision,
Yeah.
your passion,
Yeah.
you know, it comes around. Anybody can find you.
Right,
You don't have
right,
to
right.
like just the press, so to say. And but yes, it was. I won't lie. I thought it was one of those scam emails. You know.
Right, right, right.
So.
Right. So then I'm gonna take you a little bit back. You know, I know obviously you have designed some really great, you know, pieces and stuff like that, which you have even mentioned some. You know, I saw that you designed one thing, the Dino clothing rack or
Yep.
something like
Oh.
that. Really, you know, incredible pieces. But
Thank
if I take you a little bit back, what would be the first object or art that you created that made you feel like, okay, this is really who I am?
Well, you could say that I've always been doing kind of. I've been not, should I say proactive, but I've been, you know, doing things. Of course, lately I'm more like I try to be a bit maybe more thoughtful of what I put out there.
Right, right,
As of
right.
late, I've started using waste as raw material,
Right, right.
and that's why I was, for example, in Ghana
Okay, okay.
for 3 months.
Yeah, yeah.
I was as an apprentice for Sedi Beats, who
Okay.
works with a recycled glass to make jewelry. But I wanted to combine his technique with Pratt, which is a French for lamp of glass,
Okay.
and slumping to, instead of making a decorative item, because they usually use the recycled glass for beads and jewelry.
Right.
I wanted to do something functional, day to day. So I did this project for Svensk, which is one of the oldest Swedish companies
Okay,
in the
okay.
world.
Okay.
Sorry, in Sweden. Yeah, so basically, after that, last year I was in Kenya using upcycled flip flops to do a furniture collection. And at the moment, I'm working on. It's called kintsugi. It's a Japanese practice of repairing porcelain or ceramics with gold.
Okay. Okay.
So
okay.
I don't know if you've seen some of those pieces. So I'm questioning more about, because the world is running out of virgin raw materials.
Right, right.
And it's basically it's we can't like go on at this rate. Otherwise, you know, there won't be any forests left.
Right.
Or any anything like water. Everything will be, you know, greatly at at a great risk that we won't have enough resources actually for our future generation.
Right.
So I'm mindful of that, and I'm trying to recycle or upcycle as much where I can, because after all, recycled. If you use like available waste, it's up to 85% as pure as the virgin resources with a less carbon footprint.
Right.
But of course, I still have projects which, for example, the licensed products, the glassware.
Okay.
That those every now and again. From time to time, we started with the whiskey glasses to wine glasses, martini glasses, and of course, as you're aware, the tariffs that the current president has imposed upon China, and most of my licenses do the production in China. So that has meant
challenging
a bit. But otherwise, these are what I choose to call pet projects.
Right.
I've been doing them through my studio, and in collaboration with the African artisans.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Nice. So I will dig a little bit into your journey from Uganda to Finland. Obviously, you are like naturalized Finnish now, so you are equally a Finn as a Ugandan. But I would think like moving from Uganda to Finland usually is like a big leap. So my first question is like, what was the transition like for you? And then second question would be like, how did the Finnish design philosophy influence your own way of thinking and creating?
well, it was easy to actually adapt and assimilate. Because as a student you have less worries, less fears. Because I came as an exchange student.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, I had to learn first. When I was at university in Uganda, we were instructed in a way that do as the teacher does,
Right,
which is for a creative field, that's not really good.
Exactly.
Because I have my own different style. You have your own different style. Although we're doing the same thing, we can look at it or approach it differently.
Right.
And and I've had some exchange programs elsewhere, but it so happens that in Finland, that's where like your professor, you can address him by the first name.
Yeah.
I've never had that anyway.
Right.
Without even Mr. Sir, whatever. You just say John, hey, or Yanni or whatever, or Mirka or Satu. It's already that kind of nicely levels the field. There's no this pressure of hierarchy. You feel that it's not disrespect, but I feel that your instructor or professor, tutor is approachable, and you're much more able to either brainstorm ideas with them, or I was really hungry then, if I may use the word, because I was almost the first one to leave, to arrive at the university, and the last one to leave, because they had this open studio policy. Of course, with just asking for permission, they could basically, although I was one is, let's say, in the photography department, you could also go to the ceramics department.
Right.
Basically, I was just I took different courses because I had this. Obviously, in Uganda, I didn't have the chance to have properly equipped studios and everything. And coming to Finland, you have like computers, you have 3D printers, you have, that's like, what, so I was, and that's why, as you can see, my work includes, there's glass, there's ceramics, there's metal, there's wood, because I took the opportunity, because I didn't have it when I was studying elsewhere, to actually, dig in, explore. I was just like, what can I learn? What should I, try out? What should I, experience? So,
yeah. So then, my follow-up question would be like, obviously, like the way you're saying, there's like so many different environment that, you kind of like can play in, right? So what, like, did you ever feel at any point in that, okay, you found your place in this new environment and this is where you're going to explore?
This is related to a couple of things, and one thing that I forgot to say, or actually said, but I didn't really define, is one has to be stubborn. You have to, you have to know that this is my calling. I'm not going to give up, whatever the cost.
Right.
And it doesn't matter however talented you are. You need a bit of stubbornness, of course a bit of luck. But stubbornness takes you far. And stubbornness, I don't mean you're throwing tantrums, rolling on the floor. I meant that like, yes, I'm not compromising. I'm gonna invest all it takes. I'm going to sacrifice. That kind of stubbornness. Dedication. It takes many forms or shapes or definitions, but the idea is that there should be that will not to give up. At whatever cost.
Right.
And of course, I was born in Uganda. I'm a naturalized Finn. I feel at home in Finland. Because, one would say I'm more like a social introvert.
Right.
In a way that, I like to socialize as much as I want to, be by myself, which is a familiar character trait with the Finns. That silence is actually golden in Finland. That people just
be themselves.
Exactly,
Right.
or want to keep to themselves, or I appreciate both, and the many things I do appreciate about Finland.
For sure. For sure.
Once if you set out today, if you wake up in the morning and say that I'm going to do this, you give it your all, you invest, you find the right partners, players, and everything.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to actually sabotage that.
Right.
There is a chance that you actually are going to achieve that.
100%.
Of course, as a person of color, I'm aware of the challenges, but I would say also this takes shape in our society in different forms. For example, in Finland, when it's called racism, in Uganda, it could be tribalism.
Right.
It's someone, it's
exactly.
But I try not to. My glass is always half full. I try not to dwell on the problems, the challenges, the issues. Of course, I have to acknowledge them in order to navigate past them. Exactly. I'm not trying to have a ready excuse. I'm trying to actually, problem solve and say, how can I go around that?
Exactly.
Or how can I, make that less of an issue?
Exactly.
So it's more like, and by doing that, well, for example, I founded the company because, among other things, obviously, it's easier as an entrepreneur because you won't say that, okay, I can't find a job. I mean, of course, you make the job, you have to make the hours, you have to make a schedule and everything. Of course, entrepreneurship also has its challenges. You have to raise capital, you have to, but nonetheless, I'm just trying to highlight that wherever there's a problem, there's always like a way to.
For sure.
It might not be the easiest route, but actually, when you get there, the reward is much more meaningful.
Exactly.
And nothing in life is actually really easy. It's just your attitude towards that. For sure. For the most part. For sure.
So then, I was going to ask you actually that, like you said, when you were in the university, you were the first to get there and then the last to leave, right? So then you opened your own studio. So my first question would be like, what inspired you to open your own studio? And then second question might probably be that, how was it like, coming fresh from school and then opening your studio? How were you able to fund the studio in the early days, and what were some of the challenges that you faced, like trying to do that?
So basically, it was a combination of things, maybe a bit of luck and a bit of that. Of course, I was graduating, and but at the time when I was graduating, it was called the Tuli Tekes project, which is basically Tekes was a former it's the former Business Finland.
Okay.
Sorry, it's the current Business Finland.
Okay.
It was called Tekes back in the day.
Right.
And they had this project, the Tuli Tekes project, which was for the creative universities or higher education, whereby they try to commercialize ideas that had potential.
Right.
So my graduation work was one of those. There was a team of there was a team from the university that could select projects which they thought they could, as a jump start to launch. Of course, I'd been also tutoring as a Master of Arts student.
Okay.
But at the time, my final work, which was picnic glasses that you could stick in the grass or at the beach in the sand or in soft grass. Right. So they had like this pin at the end, and then just glass. Actually, I should get back to that. So this actually Tekes was so that it could find a consultant who could shop around the idea to different manufacturers, producers, etc.
Right.
And that was 2008. So we did find one,
Okay.
but there was a mini recession around the time at the same time. So unfortunately, actually, we went as far as signing the contract, and then they had preferred me to be a registered entity, so it's easier to pay the royalties
Right.
as a licensee than pay salary, because when you pay salary you have to pay all these
VATs and stuff.
exactly, taxes and everything. So additional taxes, but it would have been much more convenient for them to pay the flat tax, the VAT tax. But yeah, so of course there was a mini recession, and they wouldn't do the project. But it coincided with my first paternity leave. And during those 6 months, it was 6 months long. I have two kids, so it was. I spent one whole year changing diapers, but which I totally appreciate. But during those 6 months of paternity leave, I was really thinking, okay, it gave me time to, it gave me room and the space of mind to really think that, I still had the tutorship at the university, do I want to continue as a tutor? Now I've founded a company, do I, continue with it? I had an answer towards the end, so that I decided to keep all the bad ideas to myself. I was like, okay, it's probably now or never. But this is something I wouldn't want to regret later in life, that I didn't take that chance, take that leap of faith.
For sure. So you open your studio and then you name it Kayiwa, right? Yeah. So my question would be aside from the fact that Kayiwa is your last name, what does the word mean to you? Because obviously, if that's what you are naming, your studio, and to represent your work, it has some meaning. So,
actually, I wanted to name it all kinds of things at the time. Something catchy, something. But my ex, who is also the mother of my children, at the time was like, "Why don't you, just call it your name? After all, you have these very individual signature pieces.
Right,
it's me. It's exactly. It's not. I'm not trying to be or try to design something that was. I don't like to design things with an archetype, meaning that I wouldn't want to just design a similar looking glass.
Exactly.
So my tables look different. The glassware, the shells, even chopsticks and everything. So and I think that rang true and like the bell.
Right.
And it resonated. So but Kayiwa itself is actually meant to pour.
Okay.
In a way that maybe, but not in a negative connotation. It's overflow, and abundance, and which I kind of I feel that it has the
bless you.
It has both the positive connotations and also the that it's still me, and that's also that there wouldn't be another, let's say, Kayiwa design company anywhere in the world. So
unless maybe when you hand it over to your kids, of course.
Exactly, precisely.
Yeah. So about the entrepreneur journey, how was your journey like? Because I think nowadays with social media and all, the message that we get is you start a business and then you just become successful and then that's it. So it's like so if you're not making it in a year, then there's so much pressure.
That's really the worst mindset. You have to be driven by passion. Actually, it's scary to think that it's kind of a bit suicidal if you ever think it, of course. But for me, after weighing the options at the end of the day, nothing made more sense than just going out there, giving it my all, and see how it works. It's not easy being an entrepreneur, but one shouldn't go into it just to make money for this. All of it. The people actually who manage to disrupt the world, change the world, it wasn't about making money. It
Exactly.
was
Exactly.
passion, motivation. All the disruptors. If you read their stories, from Steve Jobs to Bill Gates to even the latest companies like Uber. It starts from identifying for example problem, and then coming with different solutions.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be the most complex of it. Like look at how Uber or Bolt works. It's hailing a ride, and that's it. Everybody has a car. You go like, why didn't I think of that? It doesn't. It sounds like it shouldn't be rocket science.
Exactly.
For you to become successful.
Exactly.
You just have to identify, zoom in, scope out, where you could make the difference, or where you could, your solution could be the best for the existing problem, and that's it.
Yeah.
But if you're going in to make tons of money, that's not
great motivation.
It's not gonna take you far. It's easy to get frustrated, and also if one goes in thinking about money, it cuts out also a lot of the what would make that really special.
Exactly.
What could, because if this comes from your heart, it's easy to see like someone who's doing something with their heart, giving their all, and actually usually the audience or customers gravitate towards that, because they're not like you're not there for just the money, but also that you really like a living, breathing, eating, sweating this thing.
Exactly.
Towards,
Exactly. So how let's say like in terms of profitability, right? Again, to the idea of how fast it really takes, to build something sustainable or lasting or even a profitable business. How long? I mean, you don't necessarily have to share, but if you feel comfortable sharing, I would say like how long did it take you before you even started to be profitable?
Well, that was now I'm ready to share. That was after it was. My company was registered in 2000, I think, 7. So it took a whole 10 years. 2017, yes. And 10 years to be profitable, to break even.
Right. So in these 10 years, did you ever feel like quitting? Or
of course, yes. Right. But did I quit? No. And this is the thing, that if one expects that you're gonna become a millionaire in 1 year.
Right.
Well, you might, but that's a 0.0001% chance. Right. You have to, if you go into it that you're like, okay, of course, we have to be mindful that you can survive with the business, that you make a certain amount of it, but that shouldn't be the very first priority. So you have to go into it knowing that it might take you. Of course, you have to have short-term goals, mid-term, and long-term goals. But you have to be mindful that it might actually, take a bit longer.
Yeah.
But if you stay on, wake up with the same passion, same motivation, same vision, eventually it does work. So, but yeah, you might be one of the really, really few lucky ones that get to make it work in 1 year.
Yeah.
But that's not usually the case. So you have to, and of course it's much more rewarding to go into it hoping that it's going to take longer. If it takes a short time, fine. But, if you pace yourself and, say, okay, maybe 3 to 5 years, let's see if I've arrived at my, growth phase or something like that. And then after that, is the company scaling, or is it like the mid-range, 5 to 10 years? So it's that's really important, because then it also removes or reduces this pressure that you might have initially, that if it doesn't happen in 3 years, you're panicking a little. But from the onset, if you pace yourself and say, okay, I'll give it to reach these goals, I'll give it this amount of time, and to reach the next milestone, I'll give it this. So it's much more pleasant and less stressful and more feasible.
Right.
That way. That
Right.
and also one important thing is that I did also have um, some people are like, maybe you should do something else.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should give
yeah,
up, and
exactly.
that's the worst part. If
Right,
you
right.
if you still feel energized,
Yeah.
still have the fuel to go on,
Right, right,
don't
right.
listen to any
Right,
of the
right,
voices.
right, right,
That would have been the biggest regrets that
Exactly,
I
exactly.
today. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, as long as you still have the will, you still feel the potential. I mean, just keep going.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's a little bit sad in the sense that even the people who tell you that to quit and go do something else, they are not even saying it from like
It's not from the right place.
yeah, but what I mean is, like, maybe they even care about you, and
Yeah,
then
that's
they
what I
see
mean,
you
yeah.
struggling
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do something, and they don't really see the progress, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then in terms of like monetary, when you are telling somebody that I'm gonna build one of the greatest art pieces that someday is gonna be featured in the New York Times, they are looking at you, and you can't even afford like basic things. It's quite a place to be.
And I mean, of course, nobody really knows your whole story.
Right.
Not even your sibling, or not even it's all the pieces are within you. You know how much you can pull yourself.
Right,
You can
right.
you know how much you can sacrifice. Or at the end of the day, I mean, of course, sometimes it comes from a good place. Sometimes it's more like it's just more like. But at the end of the day, it's what I mean is that you should feel
Right.
your hunger, your
Right.
passion,
Right.
your
Right.
how far are you willing to go? Are you have you got that extra 20% to chip in? Have you got another sleepless nights to add to the plenty of sleepless nights you've had? So that motivation, it's within you.
Right.
It's,
Right.
and you alone actually at the end of the day could tell when somebody says quit. You should look inward and say, am I ready to quit? It shouldn't be somebody from the outside.
Exactly.
Because they're not really connected to your brain, your
vision and stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
But yeah.
So in your opinion, right, like, what are some of the character traits that can make somebody successful, and especially successful even in the art world? Because I would assume that it's even more easier to succeed in business or traditional business than succeed in the art, because if you're not a Picasso or a Rembrandt or the great, then it's like, why should I care about Kayiwa from Uganda?
The thing about the arts or creative field is that it's actually not necessarily the best, the person with the best voice that gets the studio album.
Right.
It's not necessarily the best, person who can draw like a photorealistic, portrait of you that makes it. It's not the best. It's a combination of course, it takes you a certain distance, but you need. And this is something I tell some of my friends, and they're actually surprised that Finland is way more innovative than Sweden, for example.
Okay.
But Sweden has mastered the skill of branding and marketing. So they have more global brands. For example, from Spotify to H&M to, of course, IKEA to
Klarna.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and Finland could, basically be a proper rival to Sweden if they actually also mastered this. So it's not enough that you have a talent or an idea or a concept, but you also the branding, marketing, getting to it's really
Press
important.
and stuff. Right.
So and what people don't understand is that branding and marketing, especially as a creative, branding is whatever you do. The way you wear your hair, that's branding. The way how you choose to the clothes you choose to wear.
Right.
They don't have to be the most expensive. They don't have to be, but the way you put them together, you see that, you stand out.
Right.
Or the way, like all these tiny details, and in the creative field, it's really important. And of course, it also reflects with the style, how you do your work, like how you design. Am I going to design like a totally new concept, or am I going to like is it going to be more like towards what's going to inspire? Is the inspiration going to be so visible? Is it easy to tell my design from another designer's work? All these different elements that come from within translate as into things that you do. But on the back of that, you have to not every branding and marketing or PR needs a sack of money.
Exactly.
It's you can do it in so many different things, both small and grand, but still it's a total package that you have to be able to appeal,
right.
and also find the audience.
I think like maybe for anybody who might be watching this who is also like a creative, I think now that we are here, I would like to get a little bit like masterclass from you about your creative process and stuff. Like, so if you can take us a little bit into like what is like your design or creative process usually like, from maybe idea to like product.
Well, actually, it's safe to say now that I regard myself more as a business person than a designer.
Right.
Because I do. Luckily for me, it's easy to come up with ideas. Concepts.
Right.
And also having, my company is gonna be, it's gonna be 18 years. Actually, was it on the 8th? Yes. So this month, it's gonna be 18 years. So
happy birthday.
Thanks. So it's a long career path, and with it, of course, you make enough mistakes.
Right.
Which, technically they're not mistakes, they're lessons. Unless you, of course, repeat the same mistakes, then the mistakes. But you get all these lessons, and it's detours, it's, ups, it's downs, it's a combination of those. So it's not really like, it's never easy to, and even my story is a bit different from the next person's story, because of different circumstances and everything.
Right.
But one thing always remains consistent, that even despite the the detours or the downs, you still wake up, of course, after a bad day, maybe just take a day off, but then, wake up and, pick up yourself, or pick yourself up and, continue on to follow your vision and path. But I think for me, it has been important to still have the, I realized the other day that what would I do if I wasn't a designer, for example.
Right.
And I wouldn't think about like what would make me, what I would happily wake up to do every day. And this is something that I can, I come up with concepts pretty easy, ideas, and they come in a passive or active way. I could just be having a walk, having a swim, and then you get this idea, and then you make some sketches, and then I get the intern who is the 3D CAD. You check the dimensions. It can also sit on the back of your mind. You do other things. You get back to it. So for me, random ideas, especially, because they just all of a sudden, and then I'm like, oh, this, and then I get to think about it, and then chew it on it for a period of time. So those come easy, but the commercialization bit, like how to get them from that initial sketch to products on the in some in a client's home or
on a shelf somewhere.
Exactly, that's the challenging bit.
Right,
And of course, it's easier for me because, for example, I've worked with wood and glass and stone, and so if I get an idea, let's say to be done in wood, I know where it can be prototyped.
Right.
If I go that far with it, if I want to really try it out, if it's glass, then I know who to call, and so it gets easy along the way. Of course, it needs some kind of resources to have it done, but over the years, you kind of get there. You know how to kind of make it work, how to also instead of making it how to cost cut, for example, instead of making an expensive prototype, you can have let's say have it done faster, cheaper, just to get the feel of the dimensions, scale. Does it look better as a as a
idea,
an idea, or as a physical
product,
thing before you move on to the final product.
So I think I heard this somewhere. I think it was a quote from John D. Rockefeller or something, that he says that I would rather have 100 people give me a 1% each than do 100% by myself. So I thought, like, okay, that's pretty interesting, because if I need 1% from 100 people, that will still give me 100%. So if I can get 1% from 1,000 people, so that's 1,000%. So which comes to my question, because like obviously you've said that you are more like an entrepreneur now, so to speak, than a designer, which means building a team is very important. And I've also seen that you've worked with designers from across Africa, some from Ghana, where I'm from originally. And for a moment I was thinking that sometimes even when you're talking with your friends, they tell you like they have a business idea, and then when you ask them like what is the idea, they don't even want to tell you the idea, because they think like you're gonna steal the idea or something. So in your industry, or with your experience, when it comes to building team, how do you go about that? Like getting the right people for the team, and also making sure that they're able to drive your ideas home.
I mean, having the right team is key. And on the overall, I believe in efficiency. I dislike wasting time. Like if something I could do in that should be done in 5 minutes, it shouldn't take 1 hour.
Right.
And so of course that extends to the resources, the people you have around you, and but it's also it doesn't have to be like a huge team after all. You have to have especially in the beginning, because as in Finland you have to pay all these taxes. You can have slaves working for you, so you have to, which means that you have to especially in the beginning, you have to get the right key people, and the many ways to do it. You can either promise them stock options, and if they take if they took a lower salary in the beginning, as the company grows, then
right,
increase the salaries and everything. So and also you shouldn't preferably have yes people. I was going to say yes men, but this should include men and women.
For sure.
You should find, as long as they have constructive criticism, you should be actually more open, because you grow.
Right.
You shouldn't surround yourself with people who are actually just a mirror of yourself and not learning from them.
Exactly.
So that makes and also the idea that you need to start, like with 100 people. You can just start with yourself, maybe find another person, 2 or 3. You could subcontract these services and outsource them. It's many different solutions, but yes, it's key that you should be as slimlined and efficient as possible in the beginning for the cost cutting a bit of it. But as the company grows, then of course you're more than welcome to have more people, and who of course should be also worth
The opportunity.
exactly.
Right, right.
So that you're not just filling in, for the sake of
Exactly.
filling in.
So I have we are trying to be respective of your time, but I have a few more questions for you.
Sure.
So one of my questions is like, for example, even with you, when you came from Uganda to Europe, right? I think for a lot of African designers or creatives, there's always the pressure of how do you say, that African background always kind of like shows up often in their work, right? So then my question is like, how do you think, based on your experience, that African designers can stay authentic while still appealing to like the international audience? Yeah.
Actually, that's a good question. One thing I forgot to add is that if one fears, because they're also in Europe at least, there are all these tools that you can use to protect your idea. If it's in the creative field, for example, there's copyright, there's registered design, there's
Patents.
patents.
Yeah.
So all these tools. So
Right.
if you feel that to share your idea freely, do the protection, get the intellectual property rights, and then it's easy to.
Right.
So that way you don't have to fear that anybody is gonna
Right.
steal your idea. And also there are NDAs,
Non-disclosure.
agreements, and but so basically, but it also applies to, because when I came to Europe, in Uganda, I wasn't told about, it was like a communist kind of concept that you have an idea, it belongs to the whole village.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But actually in Europe, it goes in a way that it's your idea,
For sure,
so
for
you
sure.
can exploit, you can license it, you can, but of course you need to have some form of protection.
Right.
So it's and for me, I've been struggling with the idea that because I respect my background, I respect that I was born in Uganda, I respect the craft traditions, but it's not enough for me to just copy and paste things. I need to enhance, I need to use them as inspiration to further my creative thinking or discipline. And that's why, for example, I mentioned this idea about the alphabet school, right?
Exactly.
And so, for example, none of my designs is covered in, let's say, African like batik or anything like that, because while I appreciate and respect that the African craft and traditions, and also I would say the same for the European design traditions. I'm not trying to replicate exactly the same. I try to learn, get notes, be inspired, but evolve it into something different and new.
Exactly.
And for example, this table is flat pack, and this is something that I got from the flat pack, the IKEA. But the table itself is called Nzela after my grandmother, because she used to throw out these huge feasts of food, and of course then we sat on the floor. But because it came to my mind when I wanted to do a big table such as this, that who should I name it after? Who inspired me to bring people around the same room, like in a festival. So combining two elements from different backgrounds, my grandmother's memories from my grandmother, and then also the IKEA flat pack. So it's that's how you make something new, that you get these different elements and then see them in a new light. You're not just like, okay, this is Ugandan, and yes, okay, now it's I'm not gonna change anything. I'm just gonna have it. I think you don't grow in that way, and in that way also the story doesn't. There's nothing new there. It's not interesting enough, because you've seen it before. It hasn't changed a lot.
Right. So before my last question to you, Lincoln, today is there any? I mean, obviously we've covered a lot of different things, but is there anything that you would have loved to talk about that I didn't maybe ask you or something like that?
Well, usually laugh because I ramble and I talk about because I'm not at the end of the day talk. I'm a doer,
Right,
so I'm a
right,
designer.
right.
So I either overshare
Mm, mm.
or talk less.
Yeah.
But I think we've covered plenty,
Mm.
and uh, I'll be more than happy to sit with you
For
again
sure,
if
for sure, for
the
sure.
audience has more
More
questions
questions. Sure.
or if something new comes up.
Comes up for sure.
But yeah, I have that complex that I've realized that from a very early age I'm either like mute or then I'm just
Okay.
talking until the next time.
Mm.
But
Sure.
yeah, this was nice. I also got to think about some things in a new light, in a
Right,
better
right.
perspective and or different perspective, and yeah.
So then this question, which is like obviously my last question, is but I think even before I get to the last question, I have a few sentences.
Yeah.
You can just answer with one word,
Okay.
right? So work-life balance, myth or truth?
Depends.
Okay.
Because sorry,
Yeah,
this is
no,
what I meant that I rumble on.
No problem. Let's
Because
go.
it's a context thing. For me, my company is an extension of me.
Right.
So I'm working, but
But doesn't
also I
feel
could
like-
be like that's my life.
Right,
So
right.
I'm more like I'm eating, breathing, so it's difficult to differentiate. I could given you a nonsensical answer like it's really important, but for me it's of course I can tell I don't have to be at the computer to be working. I can I can be anywhere or having a walk in different scenarios or different people. You have to pay more attention to the way of life or the nature of the job they're doing. But for me, it's I can't really separate my personal
And work
life from my work life. It's they're nicely
intertwined.
intertwined, and it's not a complaint. It's something that I actually appreciate, that there's no margin. Like in that way, I can I don't have to be at my computer to get any work done. I can just use my head or on a walk or something like that to think through an idea. So so yes, to answer your question, personally, it's a myth because you can't really entirely or shouldn't if you really love your job and passionate about it, you can live, breathe your work, but not in a way that you're super stressed, but like organically,
like enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then the second one will be discipline or motivation.
Both.
Right.
You need both.
Right, for sure. Then my last question would be, what advice would you give to creators trying to turn their passion into a sustainable business?
That's the way to do it. If you can, because then you are investing in your own self, directly. You're not working for someone. You basically every overtime you do, that's for you. You're not actually, if you're working overtime for someone, well, they can give you maybe an X amount of extra money, but they maybe reap or earn more from that. But as an investor, that's something that you should be welcoming.
For sure.
And again, of course, the flip side of the coin is that not in a way that you can eat, sleep, have time to go to the gym, meet loved ones, friends and everything. You need that kind of also off time to actually. When you sit back, sometimes you have a clearer vision. When you step away from the situation. So you need a nice, healthy balance of that.
For sure.
But I mean.
All right. So on this note, Sir Lincoln, I would like to thank you very much for being generous with us with your time and with your knowledge and wisdom.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. We really appreciate you from the Godson Pratt podcast. So we'd like to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.